My heart stopped when my grandfather, Walter, called, his voice a faint, trembling shadow of the man who'd built his own house and spun tales of grit that made you believe. Walter never asked for help, so when he whispered, "Sam," I felt ice in my veins. My wife, Emily, saw my face, set her coffee down, and grabbed the keys. We sped through the manicured streets of Pine Hollow, sprinklers hissing softly, until we reached Walter's house. His garage door gaped open, revealing two monstrous SUVs jammed inside, crushing his 1965 blue Corvette as lifeline, his memory of my grandmother against the wall. Beyond it, his woodworking shop, his sanctuary, was locked away. This wasn't parking. It was an assault. Who did this? I demanded, my voice low, fury rising like a tide. Emily's hand on my arm urged restraint, but I was already on fire. Walter's eyes, heavy with defeat, met mine. He said, the word dripping with venom. Nancy Reed. Of course. The iron-fisted queen of Pine Hollow's Homeowners Association, a woman who wielded her power like a blade. She'd used her HOA master key to invade Walter's garage, claiming she was borrowing the space. Borrowing. She'd mangled his Corvette and caged his workshop. This was personal. Walter recounted finding the trucks at dawn, slamming the garage door shut, and calling the police. As he spoke, a cruiser rolled up, and Officer Lopez stepped out, her calm eyes scanning the scene. She'd dealt with Nancy before. Walter began explaining, but tires screeched, and a silver Mercedes screeched to a halt. Nancy Reed emerged, her blonde hair a rigid helmet, her tailored suit screaming wealth. "This is outrageous," she shrieked, pointing a manicured nail at the garage. "You're holding my property hostage. Officer, arrest him." Lopez sighed, unmoved. "Ma'am, calm down." But Nancy was a storm, marching to the garage keypad, jabbing at it like she owned the place right in front of a cop. Neighbors spilled out, drawn by the chaos. Old man Bill from across the street shuffled out in his slippers, shaking his head. Phones were up, capturing Nancy's meltdown. The keypad beeped angrily. Walter had changed the code months ago to protect his privacy. In a rage, Nancy pounded the door with her fists. "Enough," Lopez snapped, grabbing her arm. "You're on his property, admitting to trespassing." Nancy claimed the trucks were collateral for Walter's imaginary fines, a lie so absurd the crowd muttered in disbelief. Lopez issued a trespassing ticket, and Nancy, face blotchy with fury, crumpled it and sped off, leaving her trucks behind. The next day, an HOA envelope arrived with 5 violation notices for Walter. $1, $750 in fines for nonsense like improper vehicle storage, her trucks, and public disturbance, her tantrum. That night, at 2:17 a.m., sirens and flashing lights tore through our house. 2 officers approached Walter's apartment, claiming a 911 call reported a chainsaw and screams. It was a blatant lie, meant to terrorize an old man. They found nothing, apologized, and left, but the message was clear: Nancy could strike at will. Then came an HOA email to every resident, painting Walter as a rogue threat to community safety, describing his property without naming him. It was a public crucifixion. Walter was crumbling. In his garage, staring at the trucks blocking his Corvette, he muttered, "She wins, Sam. Maybe I should sell the car, ditch the tools." It gutted me. Nancy wasn't just winning, she was breaking his soul. "No," I said, my voice hard. "She doesn't get to win. We needed to fight, not with rage, but with truth." Nancy was a bully, and bullies always left weaknesses exposed. We tried to find evidence, but Nancy's grip on the HOA was airtight. Requests for meeting minutes or budgets were blocked. Emily suggested targeting a weak link in Nancy's circle. The HOA board had 5 members: Nancy, her lackeys Tom and Susan, the timid treasurer Claire Kim, and a vacant seat. Claire was our shot. She was a shadow at meetings, clutching her ledger like a shield, terrified of Nancy. Bill, our neighborhood gossip, said Claire had once been lively organizing picnics, saving the local animal shelter from Nancy's complaints, but years of bullying had crushed her. He noted Claire volunteered at the shelter every Saturday, where she seemed herself again. Emily, with her quiet strength, was perfect for approaching Claire. We planned it like a covert mission. Emily would run into Claire at the shelter, but when she tried, Claire panicked, whispering, "I can't. You don't know what she's capable of." Defeated, we thought we'd failed. That night, over a grim dinner, Emily gasped. A plain envelope lay on our back doorstep, holding a USB drive and a scrawled note. She destroyed my life, too. It was Claire. She'd found the courage to act, slipping us the key to Nancy's ruin. The USB unveiled a goldmine: 7 years of HOA financials, including monthly payments to Reed Consulting Services, Nancy's shell company, totaling over $90,000. It was embezzlement, plain and bold. I wanted to call Lopez, but Emily and Walter pushed for a public takedown. Nancy had humiliated everyone. Exposing her before the neighborhood would strip her power. When an HOA email announced an emergency meeting to address the security crisis, Walter, we saw our opening. Nancy had handed us the perfect stage. I offered to run the projector, playing the helpful neighbor. Nancy, blinded by her ego, didn't suspect a thing. The meeting was packed, the air thick with tension. Nancy launched into her speech, branding Walter a menace. She signaled for my slide, but instead of her lies, the screen glowed with bank statements, transaction logs, and filings for Reed Consulting Services. The room gasped. Nancy froze, frantically clicking the remote, each slide burying her deeper $90,000 stolen from neighbors. "This is a lie," she screamed, but the crowd turned. Bill demanded a vote of no confidence, and within minutes, Nancy was ousted, her reign shattered. She stormed out, her glare a promise of revenge. We celebrated, neighbors flooding our house with gratitude. Walter's fire returned. He spoke of cruising his Corvette again. But the next morning, Claire called, voice breaking. The HOA's $154,000 reserve was gone, wired out the previous afternoon. Nancy had used our public stunt as cover, looting the treasury while we rejoiced. My plan had enabled her escape, costing the community everything. Guilt choked me, but rage burned brighter. Nancy thought she'd won, but I wasn't done. Using my cybersecurity job skills, I scoured Nancy's digital trail, finding a cousin's post about a desert cabin in Arizona. Bill recalled Nancy mentioning a cabin from her divorce, out in nowhere. A property search confirmed a remote lot. I drove alone, telling Emily I'd just confirmed Nancy's location for Lopez. The dusty road led to a cabin, where a silver Mercedes hid under a tarp. Through a window, I saw Nancy packing cash tins of thousands in documents with Walter's name, forged to frame him. My plan to wait for police evaporated. I kicked the door open, the crash shattering the silence. "It's over," I said, blocking her exit. She offered me half the money, but gravel crunched outside Lopez and deputies, alerted by my location pin. Nancy was cuffed, her empire dust. The $154,000 was recovered. Claire became HOA president, torching Nancy's rules. Walter's Corvette roared free, and as we sat on our porch, Pine Hollow breathed again. Yet the scars lingered. Nancy's forged documents could have ruined Walter. My choice for public justice nearly let her escape. Was the community's victory worth the risk, or should I have gone to the police first? The question haunts me, a shadow over our hard-won peace.